Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Callista, and this is
Gaia.
And today, we're going to talk about the Barbie movie.
Well, more accurately, the Barbie monologue, the one that America Ferrera does. This is not like a recap of the movie. That's why, because as a movie person, if someone was like, we're going to talk about the Barbie movie.
That's fine.
I would be like, yes, we're going to like break down the Barbie movie. And that it's not what we're going to do for anyone who's like a cinephile and like, yeah, this is going to be amazing.
Right.
We're not doing that for you. This is going to be more so the breakdown of the monologue that America Ferrera has, or if you've like seen any clips of it on social media, then like that's what we're going to break down is like how we felt about specific instances of it.
God, yeah.
So,
do you want to get started?
Yeah, if you want to read the first part, or I can read the first part, or we can read the whole thing and then just pick it apart.
Okay, I think we should do section by section. So if you want, I'll read this first section.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, first section. It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. Should I go into the second bit real fast?
Yeah, you can.
I'm already tearing up. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but you also have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's too crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. Oh, God. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also be looking out for other people.
Okay, so I think that's like a good starting point for just breaking it down. And then we'll go through, assuming this doesn't take us an hour to break down everything in that.
We got it.
So, okay, walk me through first. Why does it make you cry?
This is
that first part.
This first part almost made me cry because, gosh, how many times have we wanted to say that to other women? Like, you are beautiful and you are good enough the way you are. But the whole extraordinary bit really speaks to me because I feel like as a woman all my life, I've been told to be extraordinary, but not too extraordinary to make another man feel like he is not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, and that applies to other women too. You can be extraordinary, but you're never, ever, ever supposed to like cast a shadow on anyone else. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, that's literally what's said further along, so obviously that makes sense.
Fuck, dude.
That's kind of why also that whole thing of like, does that make sense? We are taught as women to do that to then essentially make it sound like we are stupid and not making sense when we're being completely clear. Yeah. So the very fact that even in this section, you're then saying, does that make sense? And I'm like, they go on to say those exact words.
God, fuck.
So that kind of proves that point. For me, it's you have to be thin, but not too thin.
Right.
And you have to state that you want to be healthy, but you still have to be thin. And like that really just like,
God forbid you say the word thin.
Yeah, heaven fucking forbid you say thin. Like when I'm like, oh, hey, I'm leaning out. Yes. People get so fucking offended by that. They're like, what? Well, you're already lean. Like, bro, I don't care what your body fat percentage is. I literally only care about two people's body fat percentage, and that's mine and my husband's. That's it. And that might sound super shitty and crass to you that I give a shit about his, but I know him well enough to know that when it gets over a specific percentage, he doesn't feel good in himself. So my job as his wife, and what I see as my job, not a job that I would put onto someone else, is to help him achieve goals. And that's the only reason I give a fuck about it. Mine, I care for that same exact reason. It's not that I'm like, oh, it has to be a specific number, but that's it. But when I say, oh, hey, I want to lean out, or I would like to be thin. Now, granted, thin is not a thing that I necessarily want to be, but in like actual terms of like thinness, I would still be considered thin. And that's still like, and I guess my like rejection of that word, how many times can you say thin in one fucking like sentence? My rejection of that is because the negative connotations of it. Whereas like, because I live now in a world of like CrossFit and fitness, you can say lean, and that is the like, you know, societal exception to like, okay, you can say that, but don't say thin.
Don't say thin.
But also be thin.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you cannot, that's the thing is like when people see muscular woman, they automatically go on the attack. Like, oh, well, how many steroids is she taking? Or like, well, I don't really think that's attractive. And no one fucking asked for your opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These women are doing it because obviously they put in that hard work because that's the goal that they want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a direct physical outlook of this is a goal that they wanted. They wanted to build that physique because that physique doesn't happen overnight. That physique doesn't happen on accident.
Oh no, that's why it's always my biggest gripe.
Yes.
When I talk fitness and they're like, well, I don't want to do CrossFit because I don't want to get too bulky. I'm like, bulky? You think like this? And I always ask them, like, do you think I'm bulky? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, thank you. Because, I'm trying to be bulky.
Right. Absolutely.
It doesn't just happen.
One thing, too, before we move on to this next part, I don't know if you're already done with this.
What?
But,
well, I mean, we got to talk about the money and the boss and, obviously that. But.
I would love to talk about that. The whole, the boss part. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. Awful. And then the leading part, too, where gosh, you have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. Well, then what makes a leader? Unfortunately, that's part of the gig.
But I think that, once again, goes back to all these, just oxymorons where it's like, okay, so you want me to be a leader, but then if I speak out, if I say anything, I'm mean. And, you know this because you work with me, that's something I deal with being in a male-dominated industry and being in a male-dominated studio. Mm-hmm. That, I have been called mean so many fucking times.
Yeah, and I think I've been on a rant. I definitely posted this on Instagram. My rant was the fact that, is she being a bitch or is she expressing a feeling other than being pleasant? And that's I mean...
to the core of this.
The core of this is the fact that, people cannot handle a woman being anything other than pleasant. Even when we have, we're leaders, the society acceptable way to lead is to lead with gentleness, which is that's not going to work.
No.
It doesn't happen, and you don't respect me if I do it anyways.
Well, okay, so to give a personal example there, everyone that's been listening knows Caboose and I are in couples therapy, so we can work on communication. And one of the things the Gottmans talk about is the soft startup.
Right.
And it's where you don't come in with an attack to be like you, but instead you express your own needs and desires and interests and how you feel when those are not met. Mm-hmm. And the therapist provided that example and I was like, okay, I hear you. And that makes complete sense. But with the men that I deal with in my life, they would all take that as a criticism. It all flips around and turns into I'm being a bitch. And she just kind of sat there okay, but that's the truth of it is that okay, so if I heard I speak to men the same way that we speak to each other.
Yeah.
But then when I do that, if it's too nice, and I say that in air quotes for anyone who's not watching on YouTube, it's too nice, they just ignore you.
Yeah.
And then, that's another thing that we've talked about. And don't get me wrong, Caboose is on that, 95%. Or I'm sorry, he's in that 5% of men that are actually trying to understand the differences in this and work on communication so he can understand where women are coming from fully and not just be well, I'm assuming. So I've got one of those rare gems of a cis white man who's actually putting in the effort. But even then, it's I say something nicely, doesn't hear it. I say something slightly more assertive, aggressive, mean, as it would be put.
Whatever
really
you
am
want
just being clear.
Whatever term you want to put.
Then still ignored. And then by the time it escalates, so even in conversations when I have a soft startup, but it's only by the time it escalates to a fight that then there's any sort of response.
Yes, and
it's that genuine thing of so you want me to lead, but you don't want me to lead. You want me to surrender my ideas to a fucking man.
Yeah.
You want me to tell this man exactly what the fuck to do, and to do that behind closed doors. And then when we go out in public, and this does not just apply to my husband, this literally applies to most of the men I know. In all honesty, all the men I know. I've yet to get credit in public for half the shit that I fucking do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the women out there listening to this, and especially women of color, have the same exact problem.
Yeah.
That you provide an idea, then they go and steal it. And that's what they mean by leading is, hey, we would like for you to lead, which really means we just want you to tell us everything and then we can take that idea as our own.
100%.
That's my rant about that. Also, side note before we move on to the next fucking paragraph.
Yeah.
The money thing, Jesus Christ, that made a huge difference for me. Because the amount of work that I do, and I mean work as in outside of tattooing, but in like running a studio, the amount of work that I fucking do for free is absurd.
It's abysmal. Yeah.
It is ridiculous. And the amount of work that the women in my life do for free, and we are so trained to do that like we work with women, and I've worked with women in the past as well, who will take work home and just not charge for it. Whereas like when I look around me, I don't see that. It's not equal. I don't see this like these men just being like, yeah, I'll do this, all this extra shit for free. Especially like if they do it, believe me, you fucking hear about it constantly.
Yes, that, and like when they do it, it's because you ask them to as well. It's because like it hardly ever comes up as an offer where it's like, oh, well, can I do this? And sure, I've had the offers like happen before, but like most oftentimes and not, it's us also like reminding them. But I wanted to talk a little bit too before we move on to this next part, just to really quickly touch on the career part. You have to be a career woman, but always be looking out for other people. That one spoke to me as well. Because again, as you guys have heard, if you've tuned into the podcast before, I have not been in a relationship since I started this career. And part of that is because my career is demanding. And I'm not willing to settle. And I get it. Like, that sounds so cutthroat.
No.
I already feel a lot of people.
But that's purely because you are a woman.
Right.
You were taught that is cutthroat.
Yeah.
It is Taylor Swift's fucking song.
If I was a man, I would be the man.
When she says that, like, if she were Leonardo DiCaprio, everyone would be like, oh man, look at this fucking bachelor over here. Look at him crush it. And you'd never question. But then, because she is a woman, we judge the fact that every one of her songs is a breakup song. Fuck off. 90% of songs are breakup songs. We're going to talk about fucking Meatloaf being
100%.
like, all of these are breakup songs.
I just already feel people cringing at me saying that. Like, I'm not willing to settle the time that I take on my career. Because I like literally can feel people being like, well, Callista, that's why you haven't been in a relationship. No, you either respect me and that comes with the time that I put in my career, or you're out. Simple. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and read. Do you want
Can I get one more on there?
100%.
The whole motherhood thing
yeah.
absolutely got me. Now, obviously, I am not a mother, but I do that like part just hit me so hard where it's like, look, you need to love, and the fact that you need to like love it. That line right there fucking just like punched me in the gut.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, the amount of women I speak to that do not love motherhood, that were sold a false bill of goods and said, hey, this is all this amazingness is going to be. And really, you just got more than a full-time fucking job on top of the full-time job that you probably have, and the full-time job, I was going to say part-time, but let's face it, it's full-time, that you have in a marriage, having to tell this other person what to do. And now you have all of these children, which means you then have this other thing that is constantly relying on you. And then this, I say partner, once again in quotations, that you're also having to explain how to do everything to.
Yeah.
Because once again, all the weight of motherhood goes on women, but then don't talk about your kids. We don't like that. That's annoying.
I mean, you can even apply that to any hobby, really. Like, as women, we're not allowed to, like, talk about our hobbies or be too into our hobbies. That's some bullshit. That is awful. Not to compare hobbies to children, but okay. Should I read the next two? You have to answer.
I would probably say the next one.
Cool, next
we have
one.
A lot.
You're right.
A lot to say.
Okay. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of this sisterhood.
Okay.
That one had me sobbing in the theater.
So, the first part of that is, like, has resonated with me so much. There's a post. By the time this is out, it'll already be up. I went on a whole fucking thing about it because, like, I genuinely feel that this is what I spend my life doing. Yeah. And like I spent most of, was it yesterday morning? Might have been this morning. Yesterday morning. Talking to Caboose about it.
The days are blending.
Yeah. It's been a lot. About the fact that like even in the relationships that he has with people, I am the person taking the blame for men's poor behavior.
Yeah.
So like when people treat me like shit and then I stand up for myself, then You're the huge person. Problem. Yeah, right? I'm the huge problem. When I like speak up against any sort of injustice, when I call people out on the fact that like, why aren't you doing your job? Why aren't you fucking sticking up for people? Like you claim that you believe in something, but then you're not like working towards anything that you say you believe in. But you're like telling everyone in the fucking world you believe this shit. Like how is that okay? Because like I am not a person that believes that's okay. But then women end up being the problem. And like especially within the tattoo industry, we watch this so fucking much. The way that even clients and other artists, literally everyone, treats male artists and male professionals massively differently than women.
100%. 100%. How am I going to put this? So you have to answer for men's bad behavior. It goes from the extreme of like being raped and being blamed for it. Because when I came out about like my rape, I immediately was asked like, oh, well, what were you wearing? Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you do AB? Like literally just the stereotypical list of like, here are all the things you could have done and ignoring the fact that something horrific happened to me. But you can take that extreme, but also apply it to like little, microaggressions in our life where I had brought up an issue about, I don't know, something to do with like a client or something. And it had been completely shunned where like I was like touched by a client and people just swept it down the rug. It's fine. Like,
yep.
And the silence is part of that microaggression where, again, I'm just answering for the bad behavior. I'm somehow being punished for bringing it to people's attention. But when nothing happens to it, that's a punishment, to me at least.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. The silence is that you are siding.
You're being complicit.
Yes. Yeah. You're complicit. Like that's the thing that like Caboose and I talked about is I was like, when your friends treat me like shit and you don't fucking say anything, you too are treating me like shit.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Like I won't stand, like I have ended relationships and friendships with people because I don't like the way they speak to my husband. I've ended relationships with people because I don't like the way they speak to you.
Yeah.
And that is a hard boundary for me. So for me, it was very easy to be like, hey, you don't talk to her like that. Oh, you want to? Okay, thanks. Have a great life.
Yeah.
I won't be a part of it because this is somebody that's important to me. And that is like actually standing up for things. Whereas when you are silent, the same way that like when I also came out and was like, hey, I have been raped. I was part of the Me Too movement with that. And then what happened was that so many fucking people in my life were like, so, I mean, why would you go to like a friend's house party, but you didn't know that one person? Oh, and you didn't go to the police? Oh, and I'm like, okay, cool. Wonderful. I love the fact that like, once again, I'm being blamed for being drugged.
Yeah.
And going through something traumatic.
Absolutely. Like, oh my gosh, like we should absolutely be punished for trusting people in our lives to not do something awful.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just
well, horrendous. That's that like you as a woman are responsible for men's bad behaviors, hence why you have to walk around hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
And then when you do say, hey, I feel unsafe with this person, don't worry. We won't help you like remove them from any sort of fucking situation.
Yes. I'm going to move on to the next part
Absolutely.
if that's cool with you. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much was huge for me because I, again, like being a rape victim, was immediately thrown into this like, oh my gosh, should I like not present the way that I want to present? And I had a struggle with my femininity at that point where it was like, am I like flaunting things? I totally just fell into that whole victim blaming cycle. But that doesn't just apply to rape because I know that like not a lot of people, especially men, can relate to that story. It applies to my friendships with men where I get worried that like, oh my gosh, what if like people are only friends with me because they have an ulterior motive to have sex with me? And then that also exchanged into dating women where like I would be friends with like women and just blatantly say like, hey, lately the hookups have been like really bad on my mental health. It's making me feel objectified when I hook up with people. Like I'm not going to do it anymore. And then we would sleep together consensually. But like, it just left me feeling like, okay, so none of that was heard or seen or felt. And it's just, oh, it's awful. And the whole, you're supposed to stay pretty for men. I just want to touch really fast. I have had too many men in my fucking life tell me how they like me to present. And I hate it. I didn't ask for your opinion. I don't want your opinion. And the amount of like, they just like will outrightly say shit like, oh yeah, like, you know, you were so much more attractive with longer hair. Fuck you, dude. Why are you even saying me that? Like, why are you? Yeah. What? I don't understand the fucking audacity.
Well, I think like, that's where you get this like counter is that when I say like, oh no, I like prefer abs on men. Every man gets so fucking offended. When I say that I like my husband to have abs, I watch men lose their fucking minds about how not okay it is. But I have listened to men break down exactly every element that makes her attractive, that makes me attractive, that makes other women attractive. And that is totally the fuck okay.
Like so unprompted too.
Yeah. Like I didn't ask for you to be like, I think your haircut's hot. Ew. I didn't fucking ask for that. No. But when I tell you that, yeah, I like my husband to have abs, that's where you tell me I'm fucking a bitch.
I know.
That's where you're like, oh, that's unreasonable.
Hello, double standard.
Like, I don't know. My husband likes for me to be rather thin.
There you go.
Like, that's okay too. He likes for me to have pink hair. We're allowed to have preferences, but I'm not going to go around telling everyone like, oh, I think this, I think that.
You're also not allowed to like tear me down. You know what I mean? Like you're allowed to have a preference, but like don't unpromptedly tear me down. So I'm just going to break it down really fast. Sorry, I'm going to tell a quick story.
You're good.
I was playing the game We're Not Really Strangers. One of the prompted questions, and this is meant to be an emotional game to get to know someone on a deeper level. I had to ask him, what is something about me that I don't know about myself that you think that I should know? And his answer was that you're more attractive with longer hair. How? Fuck you. Fuck you. And to which I replied, well, that's more of a personal preference and not something that I need to know about myself. Fuck off, dude. Like, it's just the audacity of, I don't know, of everything, of picking me apart. And I can't even throw a singular, like light play punch without men freaking out. I just can't.
Okay. And also, can we address the one thing that you didn't address?
Yes.
About the, like, but not being too pretty. I think it's like to be part of the sisterhood.
Not to threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood.
Okay. So you guys have probably heard me talk about it with her before. If I haven't talked about it on here, I don't know how the fuck we missed that. I talk a lot about how beautiful she is because it pisses me off that she spends her life like playing that down. Now, let's be really clear. We're going to play a numbers game here. Because, like, I'm playing... No, you don't get to fucking do this. Okay. You can sit in this discomfort because just like in the Barbie movie where you can say, thank you, I know, you're allowed to do that here. Okay. So, I am fully aware that on it, and you guys can come for me. You can be like, bitch, you're a 4. I don't give a shit. In my head, and, like, based off of, like, current standard beauty in this country, I am a 6. I am aware of this. I'm happy with this. That I'm fine with. Callie, when she walks around no makeup, is a 6. Puts on makeup because she knows how to accent those things. I'm a 6, like, with makeup. Maybe a 7 on, like, a really good day when I actually, like, nailed eyeliner. But when she, like, dolls that shit up, that bitch is a 9. And I am fully aware of this, and everyone that loves her and knows this is true. That, like, but, like, when you get to see her and, like, live with her, when she's walking around, she just walks around, like a fucking crazy person just sitting at a 6 that you're like, God damn it, why are you so pretty? But she has been taught her whole life to play that shit down because that makes her a threat to every single other woman. And don't get me wrong, like, once again, 10 years younger than me, could be a fucking thing. I'm like, oh shit, I guess you're technically more than 10 years, but whatever. But like, that could be a threat. Yes, I could be like, oh my gosh, but like, what if my husband is just going to succumb with all of her beauty? But the thing is that, like, that's not how this works. Like, at that point, I wouldn't be mad at her. I would be like, well, he's a fucking piece of shit. But otherwise, like, we spend our whole lives, like, trying to play it down like I used to. I spent my early 20s being like, I don't know, I may be like a 3 or a 4. Fuck you, dude. I'm pretty. I know I'm pretty. I know I'm attractive. I'm fully aware of this. I know that, like, to me, let me explain that like 1 to 10 really fast, because you guys would be like, you just said she was 8. That's an insult. Or a 9 really with makeup on. Okay, so 10 doesn't exist. That's like a fucking A in an art assignment. It's never perfect. There's always faults.
It's a unicorn.
It's a unicorn.
Yep.
It doesn't exist. It's a Final Fantasy character. It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
A 9 is celebrities because they have hair and makeup and they know how to do it right. Mm-hmm. That's this bitch right here. Knows how to fucking crush it. Knows exactly how to like accent her like really awesome features. Knows what to do. All she's doing is like amping up the good features. She's not hiding any bad features. Mm-hmm. So then everything below that, you know, just gets incrementally like whatever the fuck. But it's all based off of bullshit standards.
Yeah.
Because like you could say, okay, well, I think so-and-so is a 2. And I could be like, well, I think they're a fucking like 7. I think they're hot. Mm-hmm. So I'm basing that off of like what we consider to be the like Western beauty standards.
Like the Hollywood beauty standards.
Yes, the Hollywood beauty standards. Yeah. And there is no like insult. But also, as somebody sitting outside of that, I literally watched this happen where either people will be threatened by her appearance, which makes her then play that shit down, or she does become this fucking trophy. Like the amount of individuals. Can I say this about threesomes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I had to check to make sure it was okay. The amount of individuals that ask her to have a fucking threesome, and they've spent no time talking to her.
No.
It is purely because they see her as a fucking trophy, as a doll, much like Barbie, as this thing to be attained.
Yeah.
And that is probably, for me, the biggest thing around this was that, like, I understood it on, like, the sexual level of, like, men doing the whole, like, be beautiful for men, but, like, don't tempt them too much. Like, because, to be fair, it does get easier the older you get. In my 30s, that shit doesn't happen nearly as much as in my 20s. In my 20s, I got sexually harassed a lot. Mm-hmm. In my 30s, it just doesn't happen. I remember I told my mom once, actually, because I had been sexually harassed at the shop. I guess more accurately, I'd been sexually molested at the studio.
Yeah.
And she told me that I should be grateful because when I got older, I would miss that. Now, granted, in my 30s, I'm once again fully aware, I'm fit, I'm great looking, all that jazz. Don't need reassurance there. Super comfortable and happy in my body. But as you get older, you're just not as susceptible to that, which is probably one of my other favorite things about getting older is that like I don't get sexually harassed as much. Now, also when jackasses will like say something, I don't give a fuck anymore and I'll say shit back.
Right. I can't wait for that part.
Yeah. That part's dope. But yeah, just to be really clear. So like if you as a woman look at other women and you're like, oh no, she's too pretty, I can't be friends with her. Sit down and have a real, genuine fucking conversation with yourself. And if you are one of the people that has asked about a fucking threesome with somebody just because you think they're attractive, also take a good hard look at yourself because that's fucked.
It is fucked.
Genuinely fucked.
I can't tell you how many boyfriends I've had to where their friends have told me, yeah, after you guys started dating, he kind of started acting like a dick. Like he got like super full of himself, like was stoked that like he pulled you. And I fucking hate that. I also just hate, again, like it reaffirms the fear that like, and I'm not saying all my male friends are like this at all. I just want to preface that if you're one of my dude friends, like I don't think that you're all trying to fuck me, but it is a genuine fear that I have that I'm like just lurking in the back of my mind that there is this ulterior motive of like, oh, I'm going to be nice to her. Cause I can't tell you how many like friends, I say in quotes, that I've had to turn down and they turn into absolute fucking assholes afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or fucking dudes that I sleep with. I had this conversation recently. I've slept with dudes before and they will completely just start like not respecting me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After being like, no, we're friends. And this is just like, we could just be friends like that, you know, do this.
Yeah. And then just like completely just start disrespecting me. Okay.
So, sorry, I had to go on a rant about that because I watch how this does affect her relationship with other people. And it drives me fucking bonkers to be on the sidelines being like,
it's
bro.
Awful. But for a while there, being called hot was like a trigger word for me. It just pissed me off. Okay.
Okay, so then we're at this next part. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. But always stand out. And always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also be grateful. Now, this is a large part about what I'm fucking talking about in the post that I made, because I walk around talking about gratitude a lot, and I tend to back stuff up with like gratitude. So it will be like, hey, I am horribly overworked, something that I watch women do all the time and very seldom watch men do. Because once again, we do a ton of extra shit for free, and that's just how it's supposed to be.
Emotional labor.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much. Okay, continue.
So, but then I always end it with like, but I'm grateful for my clients and I'm grateful for this. But like, fuck off. I don't need to constantly walk around with this like gratitude. Now, do I naturally do that? Yes. But then I think about it and is it natural, or have I been programmed to do that? Because that diminishes the amount of fucking effort and hard work everything is the moment I say, well, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Yeah. Fuck you, dude. I worked super hard for this opportunity.
That's why when in the Barbie movie where she just straight up, one of the Barbies like was all like, I do this and I worked super hard for it. Like she got an award.
Yeah, when she got an award. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. And
that was one of my favorite things in the movie is how every woman
accepts compliments.
So that is my new like thing that I'm going to do my best to try, is to not diminish compliments when I receive them, but to be like, thank you. And to be able to verbalize like, yes, I'm aware that I'm attractive. Thank you. I know that like these are things, because these are all things that I work on.
Yes, absolutely. I fucking hate it, because always be grateful. It's like what I've made these posts before. I totally know exactly what posts I've made before where I'm like, I am suffering, but I'm so grateful. It's just a means of like trying to protect ourselves from like the backlash of, again, like even when you're suffering, you have to be pleasant.
Yes.
Fuck off.
Yes. It's that it's sugar coated fucking poison.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I am literally dying, but let me sugarcoat this for you guys because I don't want anyone to feel discomfort.
Yeah.
And like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
But then that's not like my conversations. And like, if this sounds like a man-hating thing, y'all, I'm sorry. Like, but you know what? That's the system we are in. That's why so many people found this movie to be divisive.
Yeah.
Is because this is the system that we are in, which is the case of, hey, I very seldom hear dudes being like, oh yeah, this is really hard, but I'm grateful. And it's that but where we diminish everything that we did before.
Yes.
And very seldom do I hear them doing that because they are not taught to inherently think about others. Whereas we are taught from a very small age to always be super aware, not just for safety purposes, because I don't know how old you were the first time it was like, hey, that bad man could come get you. But like we were taught that for so long, ever since we were small, was to consider other people's feelings. So heaven forbid we make them fucking feel bad.
Heaven forbid. I fucking
Whereas
can't.
when you ask like men, hey, did you not consider that? They're like, oh, no, I didn't. Or they look at you like a fucking deer in the headlights because you're like, so you didn't think about when you said that would like affect other people, or like you didn't think about this. You just never once thought of other fucking people. You just thought of yourself. And I think that obviously, just like, spoiler alert, in the Barbie movie, where you have this like, the idea is like blending both of those. It is not for women to be fully selfish and say, fuck it, I'm not thinking about anyone else. And it is not for men to be like, all I'm ever doing is thinking about. It's about us actually meeting the two in the fucking middle where we get to, where we get to actually not have to sugarcoat stuff and fear that it makes other people uncomfortable. And men can actually, for once, think of somebody besides themselves.
Well, yeah, becoming an actual pack, because humans are pack animals. We are meant to be social creatures. And no, here's my thing. It's like, I don't hate men. I hate the patriarchy.
Oh, absolutely.
I hate what it's done to all of us. It's created a huge divide. I hate the fact that like men can't express emotions without being completely attacked. The only emotions that are okay are anger. And I just hate the fact that like women suffer every fucking day from like microaggressions, from violence, from everything.
Absolutely.
But somehow have to, still dress it up and be grateful.
And then if you think, no, that's not the case, let me just give you a really, really simple example here. Do you carry a wallet or a purse? Because when men leave the house, they carry a fucking wallet.
Oh my God.
Because all they're thinking about is themselves. Yep. Women carry purses because we have to be prepared. And let me make this clear. I don't fucking carry a purse. But also, I didn't fucking win that because my car is my purse. Because everything that I could possibly need, or more accurately, someone else could possibly need, lives in my vehicle. Yeah. And then when I go and ask my husband, hey, and once again, he's a good one. Hey, do you have ibuprofen in here? Do you have like an extra snack? Do you have a jacket? Do you have like extra sunglasses? Do you have anything that like if someone's like, oh no, I fucking forgot to brush my teeth. Do you have like mouthwash in here? Do you have fucking toothpicks? Like anything? No, you literally have nothing. You grab your wallet and you leave because that's all you have to worry about is yourself. And that's it. And that to me is one of those like very simple cases of you'll also see it at theme parks, women carrying book bags, men walking around with nothing.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I can go next. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard, it's too contradictory, and no one gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault.
You want to start on that one?
I would love to. I think that women aren't allowed to do anything. I think that, especially the never show off thing, I posted this recently on my personal page, that I feel weird, even though my personal page is like a very like smaller group of people following me, I still feel weird about posting my workout videos. Fucking why? Why? I built this body. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of like the fact that I go to the gym regularly. Never be rude. That's again, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail. Fuck off.
Well, I think for me, of course, like being a little bit like older than you, the never get old is a huge one because that's that biggest one that they're like, oh no, wrinkles. And like 80% of the fucking ads on my social media all have to do with like the fear of wrinkles.
From a young age, we are programmed to believe that, like, we are doomed from the beginning.
Yeah.
From the start, we are fucking doomed.
Yep. That you're like, hey, like, I was told that was my prime, that my 20s were my prime. And I mean, I obviously vastly disagree with that.
Yeah.
I'm much hotter now. Much better. My brain is so much better. I'm always telling you about how much better it gets.
I can't wait.
But but it is that thing that like in society's eyes, hence why I don't get fucking hit on anymore, is because like I'm older. So like no one's trying to be like, hey, what's up? Whereas it used to be when I was younger. And let's be really clear. It's not because I was fucking married, because I have like not worn a ring in fucking years, really ever since I got married, just because gloves in our job. And because like who fucking cares? But it's not that. It's simply because I've gotten older. So men don't hit on me as much. Like that's it. And because my hair's always looked like this. Like it's not that I have greatly changed that they're like, oh no, you're just scary. No, it's just because I'm not young and dumb. And that's also why like that happens, because they're trying to prey upon fucking idiots. No offense. If you're 20, you're still an idiot. But hey, you'll be 35 and be an idiot, but you'll get hit on less.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that was the thing for me, is that like the never fall down, never fail is because it goes back to that inherent belief that like we have to do everything and then we have to look perfect doing it.
You know how exhausting it is? Fucking, oh my God. Yeah, how exhausting it is that like for big events, not only are we carrying most of the weight on our shoulders of, I'm going to just use like EDC as an example. 2 guys, 2 girls. Me and Lorraine, not only are we carrying ibuprofen, water, fucking, you know, our cards, snacks, all that shit. We also have to allot 2 hours to get ready before the event. And the dudes just get to roll out of bed. And it was a meme, and it is funny. It's super funny.
It's not funny.
But it's also, it's fucked.
It's funny because we're not allowed to express how fucking fucked it is.
Yeah.
That's why we cover it up saying it's funny.
Yeah.
Because it's fucked.
It's fucked.
Because you can't go and not have makeup on.
No.
Otherwise,
oh my God,
you
God
are
forbid.
Ostracized from that.
Yeah.
And you are ostracized so much so that you will not have as an enjoyable of an experience.
Oh my gosh, yes. Are you kidding? I can't tell you how many times I did not want to do makeup, but I'm like, no, but I have to, because I know if I go out barefaced, I'm going to feel like shit the entire time. I'm not going to be in the moment. And that's because I was conditioned to feel that way.
And because people will treat you differently.
Yes, people
I didn't wear makeup to work the other day, and I got treated completely differently. If I don't wear makeup to work, I don't make tips.
Yeah.
It's a simple fucking fact.
I've always had that in the service industry. I've always had that. If I don't wear makeup, I won't get tipped. I also love the whole no one gives you a medal or says thank you, because I honestly can say that I think I'm a good tattoo artist, but I hardly ever get validated by any of my peers.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know, I try really hard to validate them and make them feel good. And it's very seldom that I ever get the favor returned to me. And when I do, I completely diminish the compliment. And that's something that I will work on too, is just saying, thank you. I worked really hard on that. But it is something that I've been feeling a lot recently.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that once again goes back to that conditioning that men are taught from very early age to think purely of themselves and to not think of other people.
Yeah.
So when you're conditioned to do that, I just realized I've been like leaning in hella close to you.
That's okay.
You are conditioned to only think about yourself. So why would you even acknowledge that someone else? And because there is that inherent sense that like they're always better. So then like we had that just to like, you know, keep talking about Caboose because we've been talking about this a ton. He stated in therapy that he didn't think that he had a problem admitting he was wrong, but he did have a problem admitting when other people were right. And then we were like, his therapist was like, well, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, more accurately, you have a lot more problems like giving credit like for validation for myself and for any other women. And he's come to realize that he's like, Jesus Christ, that's sexism. He's like, it's literally sexism. Like we were talking about
very proud of him.
And how I was like, yeah, you don't like give her credit. And he was like, I don't know why. And then he sat and he's like, it's sexism. I've been conditioned to not. And like he can recognize that in himself. But like we all do that. We all like take it and say, okay, well, he's a man. He doesn't know any better. And we just stop there instead of holding them accountable to being like, no, boo, I have to fucking do this. Why don't you? Like, if I have to fucking put on makeup, you should put on makeup. But then once again, I am like looked at as being super weird when I'm like, no, I want my husband to do his hair before we go out. I want him to put in an effort.
Yeah.
Before we go out in public, because I put an effort to put my best foot forward. I feel like he should actually, no, not I feel. He should also put in a fucking effort to put his best foot forward. 100%. But instead, when I speak that out loud, when I'm like, hey, yeah, that's a big deal to me, then men look at me like, what the fuck?
You get immediately criticized and people start thinking that you're a bitch for like, how dare you make one single comment about
for having standards
being somewhat equal? Yeah, you guys being somewhat equal.
For being like, hey, I'm fit, he should be fit. I work on my looks, he should work on his.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I think this is the very last bit.
The last one, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do you want to go? Do you want me to do it?
Okay, you can go.
Okay.
Ahead.
I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single woman tie herself into knots so that people can like us. This is our most unliked episode, I'm sure. And if all of that is true, for a doll just representing a woman, then I don't even know. And that was the point where like I fucking sobbed because then a little sidebar note on that. I am a Barbie fan. I have always been a Barbie fan. I did get stuck in that stupid, like in my fucking early teenage years when every girl was like, oh, I don't play with Barbies anymore because for some fucking reason in middle school, that's like not cool. But then your friends come over and you are like, they like find your Barbies like shoved in the back of your like closet. And they're like, oh my God, you have Barbies? And then they will bring out their Barbies. And then you do play Barbie. And like, you're not playing like house. You're playing like actual, like you're working on social like cues and like confrontation and like talking about dreams and like you're doing all these bigger things. And so I definitely saw, don't get me wrong, I know that Barbie was problematic for a lot of people. But I saw Barbie for like the symbol that she was supposed to be. So like I definitely resonated with America Ferrera's like, character a lot in that film where I was like, I always saw that. And I've argued on behalf of Barbie a lot because that was a symbol to me where I'm like, look, I understand feminism. That's been something I've studied pretty much my whole life because I understood like what she was made for and that she was the very first like public woman to own her own car, to be able to own her own house, to have a bank account, to have a job, to not have kids, to not get married, all of that great, amazing stuff that like she did trailblaze for. And I get the physiological stuff, like, hey, or the physical stuff, like That's not cool.
Yeah.
We don't want to body shame.
Yep.
But even then, like, I think I was a teenager arguing the fact that I was like, the hard part about doing different size, like, bodies was that then, like, the universal clothing line wouldn't match. But now, like, where it's going, where we have so much diversity, like, I absolutely love. So for me, it was like, that just broke my heart that I was like, man, it really was that case that, like, Barbie, this fucking doll, this representation of a woman had to be fucking perfect in order to be likable. Like, held to these ridiculous standards for an idea. A fucking idea.
Concept.
Because, a concept. Because it represented a woman better be fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are you even here then?
I wanted to circle back on the whole, like, the phase of, like, you know, you play with Barbies and then all of a sudden you're ashamed of it and then you hide it and then you find a secret other Barbie fan and then it's like, you know, this revolutionary thing. I think it ties back into the fact that, like, as women, we're not allowed to even like anything. I mean, how many times are women ostracized or, like, made fun of for fucking liking pumpkin spice lattes or fucking
Uggs. They're fucking comfortable. That's why.
They're comfy, fuck off. And also, it's literally none of your business. And and it's not just, like, what would be considered, like, society's, like, female interests of, like, shopping. Like, women are fucking, you know, ostracized for liking shopping or for doing anything, like, womanly or, like, makeup or whatever the fuck. It's also, like, what would be considered masculine interests. I can't tell you how many times I have been interested and, like, I love playing video games. I never once have claimed that I'm good at it, but I don't fucking care. I do it for enjoyment. And how many times I get quizzed, like, oh, well, then what do you think about this? What do you think about this video game?
Can I just point something out really fast? You see how you instantly diminished this thing? Because once again, that makes you more palatable.
Yeah.
So it makes it harder if you were like, I play video games and I'm good at it.
Yeah.
That makes you a lot less palatable. And that's the thing is, like, even
I can't be good at something.
You can't be good at something that is considered masculine.
How dare I be good at weightlifting? How dare I?
Exactly. Like, I am a good weightlifter.
You are.
I am fucking strong as shit. I am stronger than most men that I know.
Yeah, and you've got good form doing it too.
Really, that's an important part of being strong.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that, like, then that becomes very unpalatable.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the problem is that, like, what you were saying, it's not okay for you to have interests that don't make you palatable.
Yeah, or, like, it's not okay for you to have interests, period.
Oh, yeah.
Because even, like, makeup, like, I can't. Sports, you name it. Women aren't allowed to like anything without some man being like, but this. Fuck off. God damn it.
I mean, I think that was also one of my favorite parts of the movie. We're going to do, like, an end of this, just going through our favorite parts. Okay. Was when they made all the jokes about men talking through all of Godfather and explaining movies. And holy shit, I fucking loved that. Because it is a huge pet peeve of mine how men will, like...
It's a mansplaining thing.
Yes, it's a mansplaining thing, but it's also this thing that, like, I forgot. I just watched it on a show, too. And she was talking about that, how she was like, I don't understand. She's like, how you can, like, memorize all of these lines for movies. And I was fucking dying because I literally just said this to my manager. I was like, that's the ultimate, like, dude thing is you just start quoting movies. I'm like, you can't remember, like, stuff that is vital, but you as a man, like, and it starts young because, like, girls aren't running around quoting movies at each other. No. That's not how we're, like, socializing. But I think it's because men are not able to have genuine conversations, so they have to talk through parroting movies. And it just so happens that most of the movies, like The Godfather or, like, Tarantino films or war movies, tend to be incredibly toxic, and those are the movies that they're quoting. Because when they had that scene where it was just, like, let him explain The Godfather to you, like, talk through the entire movie. Holy shit. I felt so validated in that one scene that I was like, I remember watching Pulp Fiction with my brother and boyfriend when I was, like, 18. And I had them, it was like surround sound on both sides of me, just quoting the entire fucking movie and then explaining the genius of this fucking movie that's okay the entire fucking time. But you know what I've never had? a woman do that same exact thing.
No. And you know what? I'm just going to say there is a lot of unmasking for everyone to do, for women and men to do. For me to deprogram deprogram the part of myself that instantly will diminish myself the second I express anything. It's even as simple as expressing like video games. From how bad my rape really affected me to I like video games, I will always find a way to follow it up to be more palatable. That's a lot of deprogramming for me to do. It's also a lot of deprogramming for men to do, to have a genuine and honest conversation. Instead of parroting off a movie, tell us how it affected you.
Yeah.
Who are you as a person? Why do you like this scene? Like, how did it build you up as a person? When you first saw this, how did it make you feel? How does it still resonate with you? And it's hard because a lot of men, like, there's so much deprogramming to the point where all of those questions will be thrown at them and they will come up blank because they go into this like freeze mode of like, I've never considered that. And now I don't even know where to start. Like they're also equally as lost. I don't know if it's equal, but you know what I mean?
No, I do think it's equally as lost. Yeah. I think that women suffer more in the everyday actions.
Yes.
Because we are the ones doing all the additional work because
Labor.
Men have never been taught to think that way.
Yeah.
And I understand there's probably some like one or two random dudes out there that like
can answer those questions.
Yeah, that like do
right
that. And props to you, rad. The same way that like it's taken me a long time to be okay with aging. It's taken our friendship for me to be like, you know what? What is fucking wrong with wrinkles? Yep. What's wrong with the fact that my tits no longer sit at my fucking throat? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's
human bodies doing human body things.
Yeah, but it's taken me a long time to be like, okay, you're allowed to say that you're fucking strong. And that when men are like, well, I can lift this. And I'm like, okay, pound for pound, who's stronger?
I'm still getting to that point.
Like... But it takes that work. And that's the point, is that it takes that work. I used to shut myself down all the time. And I still find myself when talking to men in positions of power that I will make myself, actually not just in positions of power, because I do it with my coworkers and they're not more powerful than me, that I will diminish everything that I do to make myself more palatable for them. So that is something that like we are all conditioned to do and can all work on. But that's where like it comes to this place where when you have a relationship with somebody that I can be like, hey, you just diminish yourself. And then she can be like, hey, you're not being nice to my friend. Like when I do that to myself, like,
don't say that about my fucking friend.
We both do it to each other and you can do it to people in your life. So it's just like having that conversation with Caboose being like, hey, you participated in that because you didn't stand up for me.
I will say too, it would be so refreshing to hear a man call me out on that shit. If I were to be like, yeah, like this tattoo's good, but, and it would be so refreshing for someone to be like, shut the fuck up. Just no. Shut up. You did great. And you know you did great. Accept the compliment.
Yeah.
I also, just before we sign off, I did want to talk about the guitar scene because I realized why it is not a proper form to show affection to a woman. I just unhacked that in my brain. Ooh. So let me break this down for you guys. If you like playing guitar, love that for you. If you want to play guitar at me, awkward. And the reason why I don't think it's a good display of affection and why people are like, but it's so romantic.
No, it's not.
I've done it before. Here's the thing, right? You are displaying to, I'm going to assume a woman of interest, something that is your personal interest to her. That has nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
That has everything to do with, I'm going to show you a skill of mine. And it's cool to do it in an organic way. But like, seldom have I ever had a man play guitar at me in an organic way. Like if I just walk in and they're playing guitar, lit, great, you do you, love it. And if I just happen to like want to stick around and like listen, that's one thing. But if you play guitar at me and like to play it off like, oh no, but I did it for you because I'm trying to show you how much I like you. You're not even like catering to what I might like. And you want to know what caters to what I like? I had a boyfriend that I would ask him if I was having a bad day. I would be like, can you just draw something for me? I'm getting teary-eyed like talking about it and he would do it. And it meant the world to me. I didn't care if he was a good artist. It was just nice that he did something that like had something to do with me. You know, that's something that he knew that I would genuinely like. Wow, I didn't know I would cry so hard.
Well, I think that's that difference is that you are trying to show off that you know how to do this. Mm-hmm. So I guess the easiest way to explain that would be for me to be like, hey, I really like you. I would like, but I'm not going to ask you. But I'm just going to stand there and just start like, I don't know.
Tattooing.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say like putting on my makeup. You're not interested in that.
You're not. But
I quite think.
But isn't this special?
Or actually, more accurately, it's probably me doing a fashion show for you. Because I love fashion. Yeah. So that's like me just going in my closet and putting on clothes.
And being like, isn't this a grand gesture of romanticism? And you're not feel romantified right now. Like,
like you're like, okay. Because let's be clear. I'm not putting on anything sexy. You're not getting anything out of this. I'm merely showing you that I know how to put outfits together.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it has nothing to do with the person sitting there, which is why that scene was so poignant for women.
Yeah.
Because that is that exact thing of like, hey, am I singing with you? Are we doing this together? Yeah. No, we're not. You're doing this because you want to and you think it's romantic. The same way that guys think that being like, let me rev my engine at you is gonna fucking turn you on? Like, it's the same thing. It's just the nice guy's version of revving an engine.
It has nothing, that's the thing, is like, it has nothing to do with the person you're interested in, which is why it feels so ingenuine, which is why you're not playing guitar for me or playing guitar at me.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where this guy would just draw me things and send them to me, and it meant the fucking world to me because it just showed that he cared about something that I was interested in.
Yeah.
For once, like, I felt like I was seen as a person, and he doesn't give a fuck about drawing, but he was like, no, but she likes it. So, like, I want to cater to that. And that was sweet.
Well, I think that's that, like, actually thinking about someone else and not just thinking about, hey, how do I make myself look good or look cool?
Yeah, exactly. How do I make it known that, like, I'm interested in you as a partner. And I know you're interested in this and I want to do this with you. Mm-hmm. How much do we have that happen to us?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I did not know I was going to cry so hard. Holy shit, talking about the fucking guitar scene. It was hilarious. It was so funny.
Good.
That scene was so funny.
So good.
Okay.
So on that, what is your win?
My win for today and this week is being vulnerable on the podcast and crying. I cry a lot, but that was, wow, I just didn't expect it. Okay, that's my win. What's your win?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same fucking thing, so I'm mad that you took it. I was going to say, because I understand that, like, being not pleasant on here is not necessarily a good thing for ratings or for, like, any of that. Like, if this is someone's first time, they're probably going to hear it and be like, oh, she is mean, she's angry, she's all these things that they're claiming that they hate. Yeah. And the vulnerability of coming out and still having to obviously, like, skirt around some topics.
Yeah.
But not being able to, like, just being able to express it some and then being able to post online like, hey, that's it.
Yep.
That's my win for the week, is like that next step in vulnerability of being like, no, I'm fucking mad. I'm mad that I'm, like, part of this fucking system. And I feel the same way about the patriarchies. I do racism and, like, any sort of fucking just toxic shit that I have to live in every day.
Yes.
And to be able to just come on here and be able to, like, talk about it more freely. Not 100% free, but we're getting there. Little baby steps, you guys. Baby steps. So that's my win. So I would say you said something beautiful that I would love to hear from our Wrecking Balls. Okay. And that is, like, if there is a movie, instead of quoting it at us, I would love, because I am a huge movie person, and this is essentially kind of a movie episode, I would love so much for you to send us your, like, movies that have made you feel things and, like, what it did, or if there was a scene in a movie that you love so much, because I would absolutely love to do another movie episode where we talk about movies in that place instead of just, like, our previous movie episode where we talk about these, like, how they really affected and changed us.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, please send us your movies and tell us how it resonated with you, what it did to you. I just want to know.
Absolutely. And then, that being said, we will end with our very last sponsor. So please enjoy this right here.
Introducing the Ego Shield, the ultimate narcissist repellent spray. Are you tired of dealing with self-obsessed individuals who think the world revolves around them? Do you find yourself constantly rolling your eyes at the incessant self-praise and need for constant validation? Well, worry no more, because we have the perfect solution for you. Introducing the revolutionary Ego Shield, a cutting-edge narcissist repellent spray designed to keep those inflated egos at bay. With just a simple spray, you can create an invisible force field that sends narcissists running for the hills, desperately seeking a mirror to admire themselves in. How does it work, you ask? Well, the secret lies in our exclusive formula concocted from a blend of sarcasm, reality checks, and humble pie extracts. When applied liberally to your immediate vicinity, it emits an odor only narcissists can detect, a scent akin to someone not praising their every breath. It's the equivalent of a cold shower for their ego. But that's not all. The Ego Shield also features an intelligent detection system that identifies narcissist traits and adjusts its potency accordingly. The more grandiose the individual, the stronger the repellent becomes. It's like having a personal defense system against arrogance and self-importance. But wait, there's more. The Ego Shield also comes with a built-in recording device that captures all the outlandish statements made by narcissists in your vicinity. It's like having your own private collection of cringeworthy quotes ready to be shared with your friends for a good laugh. Remember, the Ego Shield is not responsible for any hurt feelings or bruised egos that may result from its use. After all, narcissists might need a reality check every now and then. So don't let narcissists of the world bring you down. Take control of your environment with the Ego Shield and reclaim your sanity in the face of relentless self-obsession. Order now and say goodbye to those ego-driven encounters forever.
And on that note, we love you guys so much, and we will see you back next week. Love you guys. Love you. Bye.